we'd like to ask you about the general this process of WHO trying to seize the powers on our health at the global level. What are the dangers that you are considering in this process?
Well,
main dangers.
I mean, I think, we were just, listening to the lawyers that are standing up for the international body, really for citizens across America against the WHO treaty. A very important point was made that the WHO, the World Health Organization, actually has nothing to do with health. They don't implement health. They do not work on health. They're simply a bureaucracy for global control. I think that is the most important thing that people recognize, that while we are voting in sovereign states and democratic nations like America, like Switzerland, like Germany, we think we're voting for the body of people that are going to make decisions for our lives. Meanwhile, there is this organization, the WHO, and really empowered by the UN, that is looking to have global control over decisions and what more important decision is there than how your body works, what goes into your body, what your health is, your sovereignty as your body. To protect your own body, not only do I not think that your own government should have any control over your body, I certainly don't think a government outside of the government that I've elected should have control over my body, and that's exactly what is being voted on right here, right now, in Geneva. They're working on the WHO treaty, the IHR rules and regulations about how they determine their control over my body as a separate citizen in a separate sovereign state. And I think that, when you sit in the meeting we're just in, you think, why is this not being broadcast on every single news network in the world? This is literally the most important issue on this planet at this time.
Precisely, there are some provisions in the draft text of the WHO treaty or international health regulation that we must fight. They must fight infodemic.
Yes.
And that means control of dis or misinformation according to their views, and that means the killing of public debate.
Correct.
And why is it that the media, the mainstream media, are silent about that?
The mainstream media are no longer journalists, and I think that is something that we have to recognize. A journalist's job, in America, we refer to as the fourth estate, the fourth branch of government. Our founding fathers said you'll have the executive branch, the judicial branch, but ultimately you've got this branch that is the private sector, which is designed to challenge, to always be asking the hard questions of government, hard questions of corporations, corporate control, all of these things. Our job is to ask the hard questions, not to promote the government, not to be cheerleaders for government agency or for corporations. That's their job. They can do their own PR. Journalism is not supposed to be a PR machine, and that is what it's become in America and I think worldwide. One of the things I think about is they label those of us that questioned the safety of the vaccine, the speed by which it was being made, its ability to stop transmission. All of these things are considered conspiracy theories. I have news for you. My job as a journalist is to be a conspiracy theorist. I am supposed to be seeing and constantly testing, is there a small group of people, which is any government, it's a smaller group than the larger society that is making decisions outside of our own desires and our own passions. We should know about that. Are they working in collusion with each other? As a conspiracy, they're conspiring together against my own desires and my own freedoms. That is what my job is. So I gladly say, you're right, I have a conspiracy theory. I believe that and I said this during COVID, it appears that the government of the United States and the WHO are conspiring to push an untested product onto the entire world. As it turns out, they did. I was right. So it's no longer, the only thing that's changed, it's no longer a theory, it's now a reality. We had a theory, a conspiracy theory, that there were government agents like Tony Fauci, Francis Collins at the NIH, that were conspiring with the Wuhan laboratory to develop gain-of-function research, which was supposed to be illegal in the United States of America. That conspiracy and that theory has now proven to be true. And I was proving it on my show when we were using Freedom of Information Act requests, getting their emails where we see them discussing. And now, of course, the assistant to Tony Fauci has just been, brought before our Congress. And in his emails, he's saying, let's switch to Google so we can talk and conspire about what we know to be true about the Wuhan lab. No longer a theory, now a reality. We now recognize it as a lab leak, as was discussed today. We have a fair and cleavage site, that's been, put inside of the virus, which has no natural origin. Lastly, I had a conspiracy theory that the government of the United States of America and other governments were going to lock us down and shut us down with no basis in science. That proved to be true. So I make all of those points that we've got to stop running away from these labels of conspiracy theory as though that's a bad word or a bad thing. That is actually the job of every journalist in the world.
But don't you feel that the awareness you're talking about is still confined into a minority? And how can the social media or alternative media reverse this tendency? Because the mainstream press, as you say, is hopeless.
I think, like all things, the citizens of the world have got to recognize that they're on their own, that the sources of information that you used to be able to trust, the news organizations that you used to trust, no longer are delivering the news. They are PR machines for your government agency. Your government agencies are no longer working for you. They're bowing down to WEF, WHO, and globalist organizations. The moment you realize that the only power you have is the power that you hold for yourself. We are sovereign bodies. We only, if you, like, one of the thoughts I thought is if you don't use it, you lose it. Right? If we don't use our freedom of speech, then we've already given it up. If we put on a mask, even though we don't believe it has any scientific background, then we've already given up and given over the power, whether they have it or not. In the United States of America, it proved to be illegal. In court, it ended up was illegal for our government to force airlines to make me wear a mask. So basically, every time I put on that mask, I was breaking the law. Now, we've got to decide whether we're going to stand for the laws and our sovereignty, which is ultimately to stop complying. No one has ever complied their way out of a totalitarian government control. Compliance is not the answer. Rebellion, standing for what your citizen, what your sovereignty is, that is the only answer now. Stop waiting for a government to fix it for you. Stop waiting for a journalist or a reporting agency to tell you what the actual truth is. You've got to do your own research, and you've got to stand in what you know to be the truth, and you need to tell everybody, use your voice while you're still legally allowed to use it, because right now they, as you pointed out, are trying to have rules around what is information. And when they say misinformation will be illegal, malinformation, you know what malinformation is? It's a new term. It's true information that is detrimental to your belief in the government system. Literally the definition of what journalism is supposed to be in the United States of America, they want to make that illegal through WHO treaty. That will be the end of everything we know. There won't even be guys like me and you. We will be in jail. We will be with Snowden. We will be with Julian Assange simply for telling you the truth, which is all I ever did on the HighWire. And I stand by that record. I'm on video. I am locked into history with what I said all the way through COVID, and almost everything that I said was correct, and it has proven to be correct, not because I was psychic or I had a crystal ball, because the evidence was there the whole time. The emergency use authorization by the FDA said very clearly, and it was put out before the public, no one in media looked at it, but it said, we have no idea if this vaccine stops transmission. So then how was it all news was saying 95% effective? That was a complete and total fabrication. I pointed out from the beginning, lost my YouTube channel, lost my, my social media channels. It's okay, I started my own website. I'm not gonna bow down, I don't care. I'm gonna keep talking, and I believe we as people have got to find those places that are telling us the truth wherever you can find them. But in the end, the misinformation came from the WHO. The misinformation came from the regulatory agencies in our countries that bowed down to the WHO. The misinformation was all that was delivered by mainstream media worldwide. Those of us that were telling the truth, we were the only ones that actually were giving you real information, and we were silenced. And everyone needs to recognize that. Everyone needs to complain about that. And everyone needs to, basically, as they said in here, declare that they have no power over any decision that we make in our countries. And certainly, they have no power over us as citizens.
Okay, thank you. Just a very technical question. What is your audience of your website? Do you feel that you are widely heard?
I mean, look, it's hard to tell, how widely heard we are, but I will say I'm in Geneva, Switzerland, and 100 people have walked up and told me, I watch your show on the highwire.com every single week. Everywhere I go in the world, people come up to me in public and say they're watching it. So we believe
millions of
we see a viewership between 5 and 7 million people coming to our website every single month.